Summertime slowly fades away.
Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is Knitworthy Podcast number 3. If you haven't seen our second one, because I feel like a lot of people missed it just because it was in the midst of days of December, go back and watch that if you want to. But yeah, today is going to be a short and sweet podcast. Only a little bit to share about from the last month. We're not very fast knitters. I know a lot of people on here are really just pumping out knits all the time. So personally, I don't have anything to show today in knitting. Basically, I haven't been knitting a lot, but Bella's kind of been knitting for both of us because she was just really whittling away all the time. I was so jealous while I was struggling to find patterns. But yeah, we're gonna get into knitting and then books, and just we're going for a cozy vibe today. So yeah, grab your blanket, your cocoa, tea, your craft of choice, and settle down with us for the next couple minutes. So mainly all throughout January, I was making a bunch of tank tops. I was making the Vegas top by Paula Strict for my sister because we do Epiphany Secret Santa. So we pick names and then we exchange gifts on Epiphany. And I picked my sister Hannah. Last year I made this shirt for my sister and she loved it. She was like, I need one of these in every color. And then I had actually already made this one for myself, so I already had practice with this. And yeah, so then when I picked her name, I just knew that I wanted to make her more because she really appreciated it when I made that one. So then I ended up actually making her 2 more. I made her a red one, and this is Premier Cotton Fair. It's just from Michael's. I didn't splurge on the yarn, even though the pattern does call for a more limited edition, like really expensive yarn. I just went to Michael's and got basic cotton yarn, and it worked out great for me. Basically any DK / worsted cotton yarn you can use for this pattern, so it's very nice. I used Lions brand Trubu for this and Lions brand Kobu for this one, and then for this one I just used like a linen mix, basically just scraps. But yeah, I made her one in orange, red, and purple so far. So I've made this top 4 times and I've gotten a lot of practice with it. It's definitely not easy. I would say it's more intermediate. It was just a really good balance for me because there's a ton of stock in it and lots of just plain knitting, which can get boring. But then the construction with the I-cord bind-offs and just making the tank top shape adds a little bit of fun and challenge into the mix. So that's why I just loved making these. As you can tell, I've made so many. And yeah, it's a good time. And my plans, I'm just going to tell you about my plans. So basically what happened, the reason why I don't have anything to show is because this whole month I was kind of just struggling over what to knit because we're going on a family ski trip in March, and I for a second was like, I'm going to pump out a giant cable sweater for this March trip and I'm going to wear it and it's going to be awesome. And then I started trying to do it. I was trying to do it with stash yarn, so I wanted a pattern that could go with the stash yarn, and then it wasn't really going, so I was like trying to adjust things about the pattern, and it was kind of just getting overly stressful, being the first time I ever made cables and the first time that I was making a sweater of this sort. So I was just like getting really overwhelmed, and I had barely even gotten into the pattern yet. So then I was just like, no, literally last week I just ripped it out. So basically I'm back to square one, and I decided I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm not gonna put too much pressure on myself with knitting anything with a deadline like that because that's just too much. So I'm making a cute small sweater for my nephew for his birthday, and I don't want to expand too much on it because I do want it to be a surprise for him. I mean, he's not gonna be watching this and comprehending what I'm saying, but I just want it to be more of a surprise. But I'm making it with these 2 colors. See if you can guess what it is. It has a letter on it, and it's these 2 colors, and it's a sweater. So comment down below if you know what it is. But basically, I'm just trying to use up some scrap yarn, and I think it'll be a fun knit that'll have some changes for me. Like, I'm gonna do more seaming than usual, and I'm gonna do a little bit of color work, but it'll also be short and sweet and easy. So I'm excited for that. And then what I just finished yesterday is this shirt for my other sister, Emma. This is the Classic Tee by Darlene Jador on Etsy. And it's just that, a classic t-shirt. Very simple raglan construction, lots of stitches, lots of knitting, but yeah, you just get this basic tee at the end, and if you're ever trying to knit something basic like this is a great pattern to go for, because I know there's a lot of t-shirt patterns out there. But this one has a little bit of a tattered vibe because I made it out of the Premier yarn, but for some reason it changed shades when I changed the ball of yarn. It was the same color and the same yarn brand, but for some reason it like changed shades, so there's a stripe right in the middle. I don't know why that happened. And then also I ended up running out of that yarn by the end, so I just used some scrap red yarn I had for the bottom and the edges, which we have our sunset lamp on right now, so this is looking a lot more enhanced than it looks in real life. Like, it doesn't look this much like color block in real life, but that's just, I mean, maybe it's a vibe. I don't know. It's just like lots of different shades of red, and yeah, that's this shirt. I don't really have anything else to say about that. And so now we're gonna get into currently reading. So when we started the second semester, I started reading the Emily of New Moon series by Ellen Montgomery, the same author who writes Anne of Green Gables. She's famous for that series, but personally I've been enjoying Emily of New Moon better. That might just be because I'm reading it right now, and you know, you're in the midst of reading a book and you just get really into it, so maybe I'll look back and think Anne of Green Gables was better. But right now I'm liking Emily of New Moon better just because I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like Anne of Green Gables, so I don't know, my imagination wasn't working as well for Anne of Green Gables, but my imagination is really delving into this world, and Emily of New Moon is such a fun, it's semi-autobiographical, so it kind of is touching on what Ellen Montgomery's life actually was like, and it's about Emily, and she is also an orphan just like Anne, and has to go live with her family from her mom's side who she's never met before, and they're called the Murray clan, and they're known for their Murray pride, and she has to live up to their name and their riches and their just famousness all around the county. And yeah, she distinguishes herself in ways that her family sort of disapprove of, because she's a fairy person. Like, she likes writing poems and playing pretend, and you know, just that whole Anne of Green Gables vibe. And it's just so much fun to read Ellen Montgomery's descriptions. She's unmatched when it comes to description of like forests and ponds and scenery. And just life in general. I love Ellen Montgomery. She's my favorite author. So, and I'm getting into the second book of the series, so I'm on Emily's quest at this point, and she's starting to grow up and become more of a likable character, and you know, she's getting into the whole like courting love triangle type thing, so it's just fun to read. So for my classic type of book, I just finished reading Eight Cousins by Louise May Alcott, and I've been wanting to read this ever since I finished Little Women, because I just loved the way that Louise May Alcott wrote in that book and how she kind of took you into the characters and the family, and this book did not disappoint. It was just like that, and it's about a girl named Rose who is also orphan. Her parents die and she is taken in by her uncle, and it's kind of like an experiment because the uncle has to prove to the rest of the family that he can take care of her within a year, and if he doesn't, then she will get passed off to one of the sisters. And he ends up really winning her heart and giving her little experiments and gifts and lessons. He's a doctor, and he gives her a bunch of life lessons that are really valuable, and it's about her kind of going from being this cooped up, sickly girl to being very carefree, and yeah, going through this metamorphosis, and it was just really enriching and inspiring. It's kind of weird how God kind of talks to us through Louise May Alcott's writing, I feel like, because if you saw our New Year's video, we were talking about how a quote from Little Women really inspired us, and then this is kind of what we were talking about in that video as well, just where it's like loosen up and become more carefree and just enjoy youth. So that's kind of the vibe of that book. Yeah, that's kind of what this book is about, and also has a lot of family in it, which I really appreciated. It's about all the 8 cousins and the aunts and uncles, just this really big family, and the really boisterous, fun times that Rose is having with all of her boy cousins. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And I'm actually going into reading the second one right now. I just started it, so she's growing up a little more. It's more coming of age, courting, and all of that. So it's really, really entertaining and very good. The like easy book that I'm reading on the weekends right now is Princess Academy series. This is by Shannon Hale. It's a middle grade series, and basically I'm into the second one now. But the first one, to summarize, Miri, the main character, has always felt unimportant in her Mount Eskel. That's what this mountain is called, where she lives, in her Mount Eskel life, because everyone is bigger than her. They'll have a job. She's always felt kind of unimportant and left out. But when the prince arranges for an academy for his bride-to-be, she really starts to wonder if she can become a new person. She wonders if she can help her mountain more than she does right now, and she really starts to get a new lease on life. And then all of the young girls of this mountain go to an academy, and they learn to read, they learn to write, and they're educated in poise and etiquette and things that a princess would need. And it's really a cozy vibe because it's in a cabin on a mountain where they're getting, you know, tutors, so it's very January. It's also just such a nice, wholesome story with Miri broadening her horizons, and she really starts to realize that she was never unimportant, and everyone kind of has their own insecurities, and they're always comparing themselves to others. So like, she's finding out that all of the young girls were comparing themselves to each other, and they all just have their own unique talents and abilities and things that make them so special. So in the end, she just realizes like we're all special and we all love each other. So it's just kind of a nice, wholesome story about just like learning to love the things that are unique about you and not comparing yourself. So I feel like I really needed that story in my life right now, because I've just been really hard and tense on myself when it comes to school, and this was inspiring me, and also it's just wholesome and refreshing and cute and cozy. So I just recommend this series, and I recommend Shannon Hale a lot. The books that I've been reading in my free time is this little duology by Kristen Bailey, and I just picked this up at the library. I didn't even research it or anything. I just saw the covers and I knew I had to read it, and the story really lived up to the cover. So good. It was really wholesome read. It's about Winfrith and Elric, who are siblings in this medieval setting where if you are special or different, if you have any type of disabilities or anything, the people in the town think that you're cursing the town, so they kind of reject you or try to kill you, or just it really starts off dark like that. But then once you get into the story, it's really good, because it's about Elric and Winfrith journeying to the Silver Gate, which is essentially the fairy kingdom's portal, and it's really cozy and kind of just all about siblings sticking together and how love just prevails, because they are together the entire time and have to sort of depend on each other, and it's a very selfless, pure, wholesome relationship, and I just loved that about it. And also just the fairy tale aspect of all the magic, and they have like folksy songs in here and poems. Yeah, Elric has to protect Winfrith because she was born with a syndrome called Rubinstein type E syndrome, and so he protects her the entire time, but then it kind of turns out that she's protecting him more than he is protecting her, because she's so just pure love, and their love is really just the strong force driving them throughout this entire series. And both books are really good. The second one's getting more into the fairy magical world, and I really just loved that, all of the aspects of that, because the world building of the fairy magic is really good, and all the characters are really good, and then the ending is just phenomenal. So I highly recommend this duology. I haven't seen it talked about before, so hopefully you pick this up if you have the chance. And I just wanted to show you really quickly, I was not knitting, but I did do this cute little bookmark for Emily of New Moon, which just sparks joy. Bookmarks are one of my favorite things to origami. I have been origamiing for a couple years now, and bookmarks are one of my favorite things. So this is like a little heart bookmark, and you just open it up. It's a little heart. It's so cute, and I love bookmarks because they really spark joy every time you open your book. And can I show them my other one? And I also made this corner bookmark for the second Princess Academy. right here, and I kind of was improvising as I was going with this one because I made a lot of corner bookmarks. So I was following a tutorial, and then I started to get lost in the tutorial, and I was just like, I'm just gonna make it up until it looks like the flower that I want it to look like. And I did it, and I was so proud of myself, and now every time I open it, it sparks joy, especially because she has a flower in her hair, and it literally matches it, and I did not plan that. And her name is Miri, and that's named after a flower. So it just all lined up, and I was like, now every time I open my book, I'm like, wow, I love that. So yeah, that's what the only craft that I have made in the last month. But I think that concludes all of our hobby rambles for today. I wanted to mention, just for movie recommendations, you guys know we love movies and everything like that, so I wanted to recommend for this time of year, Leap Year. We just recently watched that over winter break, and it was a great little movie to watch. It's so just hilarious. Wholesome. It's funny and wholesome, and just like, it's a good rom-com. It's really like, there's a lot of ridiculous stuff happening in the movie, but that just makes it more lighthearted and really good. And it all takes place on Leap Year Day, and that's coming up. So yeah, it's also in Ireland, so you can watch it around St. Patrick's Day, which is also coming up. So it was just a great movie to watch. Me and Belle were having a good time. I think we had hot chocolate and a biscuit, and we had a little shortbread and hot chocolate. We were watching that. It was just such a vibe. And that was when we were still on winter break. It was raining outside, and there's like so many cozy scenes, and just like, it's such a wholesome rom-com. So I just recommend that for this time of year. And it was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but it was. So that's just where you can find it. And yeah, I think that's all we want to talk about for this podcast. We just did a really chatty talking video, so if you want to see us chat more, you can watch that video. But for now, I think we're going to close it off. I hope you come back for our next podcast. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hopefully it didn't seem too rushed, but we do need to get to our homework now. But yeah, and if you are interested in what we've been doing lately, just go check out our vlogs, because we have been coming out with a lot of vlogs right now. Yeah, and then hopefully our next podcast is, I don't know, a little bit more than this, because this was just sort of a short one to check in with you guys. And yeah, as you know, we love to hear your comments, love your feedback. We love to interact with you guys, so comment down below, please. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Tell us what you're reading. We're really interested, and we always love recommendations. So yeah, so we'll be reading all your comments. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Summertime slowly fades away.